Received a question recently, what is my target relative to my setup position? And that's an intelligent way to ask about how does alignment work in this swing. So to understand alignment, you first have to understand the geometry of the anatomy. You see, the system that I teach is based upon the geometry of the anatomy, meaning this: what I ask you to do is exactly what your skeleton, your joints, your tendons, your muscles are already pre-equipped to do. Now, what do they do? Well, you have a lead arm and you have a trail arm. The trail arm, the shoulder socket, naturally works relative to golf in a steep and over-the-top swing path, an outside-in swing path. Now, this is not good for hitting golf shots. So if you're going to use your trail arm, you have to make manipulations in order to try to make the trail arm produce something of value. Those manipulations make it very difficult to have a consistent and repeatable skill. Now the lead arm naturally works on an inside-out swing path. An inside-out swing path is what is wanted from any swing style. An inside-out swing path is a shallow swing path. So it's just the natural positioning of my lead arm that creates this inside-out swing path. Now because of that, and because an inside-out and a shallow swing path is good for golf, this is why I position my students and me the way I do in my setup position. What I'm doing is I'm catering to my natural anatomical truth that my lead arm wants to swing on an inside-out swing path. Now, if you think about it in golf, the glove has always been worn on the lead hand. There's a reason for that. Good players understand that the swing comes out of the lead side. Well, once you isolate the swing into the lead side, then all you have to do is pay attention to how the club swings when you use your lead arm. So when I set my students or I set myself in this closed position, what I'm doing is I'm isolating my lead arm. I'm positioning my lead shoulder socket so it can have the greatest range of motion. And when that happens, the club is going to swing on an inside-out swing path. The important thing is because it's anatomically sound, it's going to do it every time. When you can have something that works every time, now you have something that's useful for golf. If golf was one hole, sure, you can get lucky and take a whack at it, but you got to be good all day long. In order to be good all day long, you have to be consistent. In order to be consistent, you have to use your anatomy efficiently. So this is why we choose to use the lead arm. The lead arm already knows how to swing on a shallow swing path. So I set you in this position to gain access to your lead arm. Now, when I do that, the lead arm swings as the lead arm swings. My arm can't change what it naturally does. This is all anatomical here. Well, look where the club swings to. It swings to slightly right of 12 o'clock for a right-handed golfer. And that's based upon this paradigm of this being 12 o'clock and me starting in neutral here. So I start in neutral, so where my toes are at parallel with 12 o'clock. Then I pivot closed. Once I pivot closed, I've now gained access to my lead arm. When I gain access to my lead arm, the lead arm can do what the lead arm does. Now the key to this is understanding that I've given the lead shoulder socket the greatest range of motion. I've also put my trail shoulder socket in a position where it has the least range of motion. So not only am I empowering one side, I am sticking the trail arm in a supportive position. If you know anything about golf, the trail arm has been the culprit of so many swings since the beginning of golf instruction. So when I position you like this, not only am I positioning you so you can use your lead arm, which naturally swings on a shallow swing path, but I'm also reducing the opportunity for your trail arm to get involved in the swing. I'm pacifying it through the setup position. Well, then it's at that point where you're going to create a consistent and repeatable swing path. That swing path is going to travel. If you look at any time I hit off of my mats, I'm always starting the ball slightly right of dead ahead, slightly right of 12 o'clock. The ball exits right over this point, not over here off the right corner where it looks like my body is pointed to. Instead, it's right here. And that's because of this. My lead arm doesn't work where I can continue to head out in that direction. In order for me to do that, I'd have to move my center. Instead, the lead arm has a shoulder socket, and that shoulder socket rotates. And as it continues through, it doesn't run off in this direction. It goes in this direction here. So when you're setting close, it does not mean that you're set to hit the ball on a 45-degree angle. You're set to use your lead arm. Once you're set to use your lead arm, now the lead arm can do what the lead arm does, and the lead arm swings for a right-handed golfer, slightly right of 12 o'clock. For a left-handed golfer, slightly left of 12 o'clock. And that's it. And because I'm swinging on this inside-out swing path, the ball is always going to draw. The stock shot will always draw. I can do manipulations to create fades or change how I want to work the ball, but the stock shot, the very simplest version of what you do, is a solid, powerful, tight draw. Now, draws are important because they have less spin than fades. So we don't choose the draw just because it looks prettier. I choose the draw because it has less spin. Less spin means more power and more control for you. When I set close like this, I'm set to use my lead arm. My lead arm is going to swing on a slightly inside-out swing path. Once you do this 20 times, it's not hard to quickly calibrate and say, okay, when I set like this, the ball is always starting right here and it has a tight little draw. Well, then at that point, it's not hard to just shift the machine, shift your unit around to send the ball in a different direction. So here I could start the ball slightly left of 12 o'clock by setting my body like this. All I've done is I've picked up the machine like I'm on a lazy Susan and I've spun it. Come back to here, now the ball's going to start right through here. It doesn't take you long to start to calibrate alignment so that once you get set up and you peek your left shoulder, you can't help but anticipate the swing path, so you can't help but anticipate that the ball's going to start right up this line here. And that's how I calibrate alignment.